Thank you so much for having me here and giving me the opportunity that I'll never have in Juarez, being a queer Mexican woman, but I have it here in the U.S. and I love it. Thank you. So I'm going to start with this little video, which will give you a recap of the conversation we're going to have tonight. And I don't have my notes, viewers' notes, so if you see me trembling a little bit, just bear with me.
In 1967, a protocol was adopted. 148 countries signed on to one or both. International support was clearly established. The convention states that people have these basic rights no matter where they are in the world. The right to an education, to exercise religion, to justice, to remain in a country, to not be punished for illegal entry into the territory, to practice a profession, to housing and to own property, to form and join trade unions, to public relief and assistance, to freedom of movement within the territory, to be issued identity and travel documents. All refugees are required to abide by the laws of their host country and respect the maintenance of public order. Today, the convention is more important than ever. The planet is facing its worst refugee crisis since World War II. Almost 1% of the Earth's population is an asylum seeker, internally displaced, or a refugee, according to a 2015 UNHCR report.
Okay, so we start with that, just to give you a little bit of a context of how did the laws for refugees started, and that this is a world problem, that the world together, United Nations, decided to do it to help all the Jewish population that had been displaced from Germany. So that's how it started. Now things have been changing through the countries, but there's still basic laws that are part of the convention. Now, there's a huge misunderstanding about what is an immigrant, what is a refugee, and what is an asylum seeker. So there is different legal categories, and then there's different reasons. So if you think of Ellis Island, that was the first wave of immigration from Europe into the US, right? But then if you think of people that want to come here to make a better life, and they say it as it is, then that is an immigrant. You come here for a better life, not because you're fleeing for your life. Okay, so then we have that established. Why social justice? Well, how did I get into this? So basically, it's part of my DNA. My grandfather over there was a physician and a business person, and he started the first hospital, which is still in place in Juarez, El Centro Médico. And during the night, private though. So at night, he would see people from the rancherias, the little ranches, but not little terrains of land where people would grow their crops, that they could not afford medicine. They would go with the shaman and stuff like that. So my grandpa cured them for free. So when I went to my grandparents' house, there was always a pig alive because he liked to have lechon. So, and there was chickens, there was any type of gift that people would give him because they were grateful. Not because it was a payment, it was just gratitude. And then mi tía Mina, Guillermina Valdez, she actually, if you look her up, she's in Wikipedia, and she's dead, but her bearing showed me how I want to die. People think, I know how I want to live. I know how I want to die. So she helped, she started the first cooperative of the people picking trash in Mexico. So they pick it for aluminum and different things that they can resell. She started the first cooperative for that. We have a thing in the border called maquiladoras, which are factories of different stuff, right, for different countries. So he started the first maquiladora that was owned by the woman and got them the contracts with like Neiman Marcus for the sleepers or stuff like that. So it was like she dedicated her life to fight for people that didn't have anything and to give them the rights and the dignity that they deserve. So when I went to her funeral, you would see, because of my grandfather's background, you would see cars like with bodyguards, and then you would see these buses that are like falling apart with like at full capacity with people that she had helped. And I've never, in Mexico, there's such a desiguality of, there's no middle class, basically. And to see these two groups come together in the burial of my aunt, I've never seen like it, something like it, and I'm almost 50. So it was very special. And then my other aunt, Tia Lupe, she is a professor of linguistics in Stanford, but she also started a nonprofit that teaches migrants basic English, so that if somebody's talking behind their back, they can understand what they're saying. And this is just a nonprofit that she's doing in Palo Alto. So, and she's dedicated her life to fight for like scholarships of very, very smart kids that don't have the means to go to Stanford, but she fights for their education. And then there was me painting, doing this boring shit, like seriously. And I always wanted to be an artist, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was that. In complete isolation, and even with the earphones, you know, and doing this. My friend told me to include these pieces of painting to give you context. I'm even embarrassed to show them. Look at that. Look at that. Right? What does it say? Nada. Okay. So how did I transform what I did, my practice as a painter, through photography? Well, I learned photography in Africa, at the Serengeti, on safari. My ex-husband gave me a camera. He's like, here, just get on the Jeep and go. We are going to see some elephants so you can take the picture. He didn't only show me how to turn the on button on. So everything came, my little elephants were all overexposed when I saw. So I made it my mission that I was going to figure that out. And I did, with a Coke bottle. So I started with a Coke bottle and figuring every single setting that the camera did. That was my school. And what is it? What happened here? This is a video. So this is what changed things for me. I was in Juarez at this time.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Now, you've tried to clarify this statement in recent days, Ana, but I guess the question comes down to this. Do you regret saying...
Okay. So no, he never regretted it. And I knew that was a lie. I saw this man saying that, national TV, my mouth is like, and he's lying. How do I know he's lying? Because I can prove it. So my nanny had been deported from El Paso because the guy she was dating like called the Border Patrol. She went out with her she left with her American kid to Juarez, ended up in my parents' house as a maid. And she raised me because my mom was too lazy to do so. So, you know, in Mexican culture and Central America, it's very often that the nanny takes care of the children. So that's how I justified it to my therapist. Anyway, so that's me, and I'm proof that thanks to Paula, I'm not a spoiled brat, and I have some principles of social justice. I don't have a picture of Paula because people don't take pictures of the help. So the first thing I did, and it's not like I went on assignment for somebody. I think it's very important to clarify that the projects that I do, I finance them myself, is because I believe in them. If they don't work out, they don't work out, but I take full responsibility, and that takes the bias away. So I took this train called the Train of Death. Who has here heard of La Bestia, Train of Death? Okay, so it's this train, it's a freight train that you get from Tapachula, which borders with Guatemala. So you get all the Central Americans, and then that train will take you to different parts of the Mexican border. So so I got it here, and went all the way to here, right? And you stop at different points. It's awful. A military guy almost raped me. They treat everybody in that train horribly because it's illegal to be there. I got out, and I can answer that in Q&A. But it was probably this is the worst route of immigration. It's also the free one. With this, you don't need a coyote. So you have no money for a coyote, you just hop on the train and take it. I'm not going to let you read that. So this is, like, you just grab it, and when it's moving slowly, then is when you get it. Because it doesn't stop. You know, when it stops, they're putting the goods in, so you can't go in. It's in movement. And that's why this happens. Because of that, because you have to take it in movement. Why is this doing that? Okay. So I've done La Bestia, and then I've done 3 caravans. The caravan of 2018, the caravan of 2021 during COVID, and 2020 of January before COVID. And this is Jose, and this is Guatemala, and that's where we slept before we got into the river. So and here we are. I get to Honduras, and I don't like traveling with other people because, like we say in Spanish, me mosquean. You know, like other photographers, like why am I? That would be so stupid. And so I just travel by myself, and I use my trick. I'm nice to people, and they're nice back.
Good trick.
So there's several borders you have to cross in order to get to the U.S. It's not just Mexico. It's like Guatemala, it's Honduras. Each country, if you're coming from El Salvador, like Honduras, so on and so forth, right? So this is a picture, but I wanted to show you the video of how it looks because it's a different feel. And we took it in the morning, 5 in the morning. And it was deep. For a tall person, no. But for me that I'm Mexican average, he came up to here. And one of the National Guard had been, they tried to cross the day before. The National Guard got them, taking rubber bullets, and so this time we crossed in the morning, 5 in the morning, and I asked this guy, "Can you help me and hold my hand while we cross?" I think anybody in another planet, if they're crossing into a border illegally, they would probably be like, "Lady, bye-bye." But this guy was really nice, and he held me, and I took pictures. And also, he had crutches, because Joel only has one leg. So the only way he could get to the other side was by swimming. So he gave him the crutches at the end. This is in El Ceibo. So the caravan divided into 2 in 2020, in the morning group and the night group. So I went with the morning group, and this is El Ceibo, the other part of the border with Mexico, with Tabasco. So here we were waiting to get across, but here's a gate, and that did not happen. And then when they did, they deported them all. This is the second leg of the Suchate River, so it moves into one leg to another leg. This one is not so deep. Again, this is the border, but the other border is Tucaniman, and then there is Tapachula. Here we're leaving Honduras. It's like people can get out like with rides and stuff. That's what you do. And then they're waiting. And one thing that, being for the border, I always felt, if I go and document people from the border, it's like cheating, because I go back to my house, you know, they cook for me, everything, I'm comfortable. So where's the experience? I'm just gonna take the picture and be a spoiled brat. I wanna really feel and understand it, so I can talk about it and tell that this guy is a liar. And this is the first caravan, 2018. So it was way more people. Again, in the caravan of 2018, this is a caravan of 2020, and basically at the entrance of Tapachula, we're walking, and I start seeing all these military cars and these white buses. I'm like, oh, this is something bad's gonna happen. And we're just walking, and yeah, lo and behold, they got all into the, like a wall, man-made wall. They pepper spray them, and they put them in buses to be deported. And this was because Donald Trump called the president of Mexico and said that if he let this caravan go in, that he was gonna raise the imports from our country. So Mexico actually for years had been very welcoming to migrants that were in passing. This is Ashley, and this is in the shelter in El Stable. A lot of the trans women from Central America, while they're in transit, are very shy because they have been so abused and treated so poorly by their communities. So in order to get this shot, it was like just like the universe. I was washing my underwear, and I put too much soap, and she was next to me, and she was like, this is the first time you do this, right? And we were like, give me that. And we both started laughing. And thanks to that, I saw the light coming in her face, and she looked so pretty, and I was like, can I take a picture? She's like, yeah, of course. But it had to have, that's why I stayed with them, because it's those moments, you know, that make the work so much richer. I shoot mostly with a 35. So it's not like it's like, you gave me permission, you know, because I entered your community and you accepted me. Again, this is the border with Guatemala and Mexico. Look at the hostility of this, incredible. And then there's this teenager crossing illegally to the other side. He's skinny. What happened to him? I don't know. And then when I told you about the tear gas, there's the military, and there's this poor girl with her eyes closed, and the mom too, because they have been tear gassed. And you don't do that to refugees because they have rights. And then basically this picture goes and shows you that migration problem, caravans or no caravans, is never going to finish. The South is moving to the North, in Europe, and here. You know, we have all the people from Africa going to Italy, boats sinking. It's not just a U.S. problem, it's an all-world problem. This is in Tijuana, in the migrant caravan of 2018. All those Mexican cops, they're not letting her go to point of entry. Point of entry is where she gets to ask for asylum. It is her right to be in point of entry and ask for asylum, but they're not letting her. And this is a group of people, that 800, the largest kidnapping that has happened in Mexico till date. If you dig, you will probably find one article by Reuters about this incident that happened in December of last year. Because nobody that I contacted had any interest in this in this work. And basically they had been, the buses where they were sold to the the cartel bribed them, and they took them to these like places. One escaped, and then they got them to rescue them. How the whole thing worked, I have no idea, because the police is so corrupt that I'm like surprised that they would even help them. Maybe there was a video, who knows, I don't know. And this is the trucks where they were sending them to the border. And here's the border. Yeah, I can't give you a little part of the story and not tell you like what's going on now, you know? That's unfair, and it's like bias. So Abbott, the governor of Texas, ordered the National Guard to help with this issue. And that's how they did. And then he started sending them to New York City. Here's a little one. But the conditions they were in were very bad. I'm not saying anything, it's just like what I saw. Barely water, and Mayor of New York, who has been pleading for assistance from the national government and has not been getting it. So there's a problem. What am I working on now? So I'm like mixing my work with like walking so much through the border. I started like getting into plants. So I love them. I think they tell a part of the story that is different, just the environment, but I also am combining them with this fabulous work I'm doing with my friends, the trans women asylum seekers in New York. And when I say they're fabulous, it's because they became my first group of friends when I moved to the city. I had no friends. The only person I knew was my daughter, and she did not want to be bothered. She was too cool. And I started this project, and all of a sudden, I started getting friends. So they invited me. So they're like so nice. This is Joanna. And then
a ponerme ropa de chico para que no tuviera ningún problema. Entonces hubo dos chicas de aquí de Estados Unidos que me entregara a migración. Entonces eso fue lo que yo hice. Estuve en una casa para menores, cumpliendo 18 años en la casa para menores. De ahí llamaron a inmigración, entonces tuve 2 meses detenida sin inmigración y sin salir.
Y cuéntame qué pasó con la orden que me dijiste de deportación que te estaban dando.
Me daban esa orden de deportación que yo la firmara, pero yo nunca la firmé.
¿La orden era en inglés o te la daban en español?
En inglés.
¿Te daban un traductor?
Yo hablé con un abogado y le dije cómo era la hoja, entonces mi abogado dijo que no la firmara porque ellos querían que yo firmara una orden de deportación.
¿Y cómo es que conseguiste acceso a un abogado?
Cuando fui a mi primer corte con el juez adentro de inmigración, no contacté a ningún abogado. El abogado de repente me dijo, mira, yo voy a llevar tu caso. Entonces así fue como los contactamos, me han cambiado como 3 o 4 veces abogado. Y así fue como ellos trataron de conseguir dinero para fianza, para sacarme de la detención, porque en verdad no me dejaban salir afuera o nada. Estaba los 2 meses las pasé encerrada, sin luz por orientación sexual. Tenían en un centro de detención, pero por ser trans me tenían casi con los hombres, pero me tenían en una celda, diciendo como yo la única chica trans y los demás eran hombres criminales y no me dejaban salir.
¿Y qué edad tenías en ese entonces?
18 años. Entonces fue cuando cumpliendo 18 años me metieron a la detención.
¿Y sufriste acoso sexual, humillaciones, cosas feas?
Humillación.
¿Sí?
Por parte de los policías en la detención.
¿Americanos?
Ya.
¿Y te decían cosas en español o en inglés o ambas?
En ambas.
¿Y los denunciaste?
No.
¿Por qué?
Porque, miedo que me tiraran.
So I wanted to show you this testimony because she entered here like as a child, a minor, you know, and then solitary confinement in jail with just a bunch of guys. That's pretty awful. So one thing that offends me a lot, as a member of the LGBTQ community, is how the stereotypes, how we have those stereotypes, no? How they put stereotypes. And with this project, the trans women decided how they want to be shown. It is their project. So that's like, they dress the way they want to, they do it in their home and where they feel comfortable. It's not in putting them in a bad light, because why would you do that to a friend? Why would you do that to anyone, you know? So I wish we could see them better, I guess. Oh yeah, that's Rihanna in her outfit. So for me, this is showing what an elegant trans woman she is, with dignity. Not like about pity. No, it's about she's strong and she has like balls of steel because she crossed the border as a child, because she knew she was better than that abuse that she was deserving. I'm not going to make her a pity case. This is an example of strength. So this is Nirvana and how happy she is with her new breast. So she now feels very, very happy. China, the city. And why did I start working with trans? I'm queer, I'm not trans, but why did I do that? Because in 2018, I met this young little girl, Fer. And I basically took her under my wing. I was like, I'm not gonna let her, because I have 2 kids, similar ages to her at that time. So I was like, Helen is taking care of my girls, I'm gonna take care of this poor girl that's by herself. And we reached to Tijuana. She was a minor. She had severe signs of self-torture, and they did not let her cross. And this is a video of her funeral. She had 12 bullet shots and is dead. The mother sent me this. She knew we were close. And those are the consequences of those that don't get asylum. Again, it is a difference between a person that is fleeing for her life or a person that is coming here for a better life. She was fleeing for her life because of her sexual orientation. She was resent to that place where she was escaping from. She was killed. The other picture that is in this, that is the final picture, is a picture of the newspaper clippings talking about her death. And that same day that she was killed, other 3 members of the LGBTQ community were killed as well in Honduras. What?
Killed by whom?
Gang members, people that are homophobic. It's very bad because remember, all of Latin America has this principle called machismo. I don't know if you ever heard about it. Okay, well, anything that has to do with LGBTQ community is against machismo, right? So it goes into from that root. And again, the root of hate. I am convinced, I've traveled all over and I've lived in different places, and I'm convinced that Americans are like the most generous people. You guys have organizations for the rats, for the cats, for the dogs, for the plants. Like you name it, you have it. I don't never seen that in Italy, anywhere, you know? But yet the country is so divided, and I think it's because, not because people are bad. It could be, one thing doesn't match with the other. I think there is a lack of information. that's coming out there, that I feel that there's two channels that are the main ones. They have completely polarized views and comments, not news, comments, that has divided the nation. So I use usually art spaces or universities to make it more, to make it different, and to give you like a more thorough information, so you can make your own choice. But at least you know better. You know, you're more informed. This was fair, and I chose this picture because it shows who she was. It just gives you that, like, she was like a tornado, like, you know, the little devil from Bugs Bunny. She was like that. There's not one thing I can say bad about her. And then there's that. And I leave you to that, so you can have some thought about this exhibit and why I do what I do. And that's it.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I'm feeling pretty choked up about that. And I'm sorry about your friend. And thank you so much for sharing your powerful work with us and sharing the stories of these people and really helping us understand, you know, there's so much more than the stereotypes that we hear in America. And I think that's why art is so powerful. And we're so honored to have you here.
Thank you.
So thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ada? We want to open it up to you all for conversation with Ada. Hand over the mic. Yeah?
Oh, just super quick, I'm wondering, how old were you when you first left? How old were you when you first left Flores?
Well, actually, I'm a U.S. citizen. I was born, you look at stereotypes, eh? You think about the accent, I was born in El Paso, Texas by accident. My mom was shopping. So, but I left at 18 and promised never to go back, and I kept the promise. I was teased for being gay. I was like, it was awful. You know, I've been published in The Guardian, but not in El Diario de Juárez, you know, because of that reason, I think.
You were not affiliated with any photojournalism publication?
No.
So, on your own, completely, without any attempt to have your stuff published or write about your observations?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Great.
I have a question. Oh, goodness. I'm just curious about the justice for the murderers. When the 3 people were killed in Honduras, was anybody arrested, brought to trial?
No, they're equally corrupt as Mexico. No, nothing, never, nothing came to.
People can just do that. And
Well, not people, gangs. So the U.S. is the biggest importer of drugs. However, it is the biggest exporter of guns. So those guns continue the drug wars all over Latin America. Because, for instance, in those countries, many of these countries, guns are illegal. They're sold in the black market.
When you're shooting on 35 millimeter with that lens length, like you said, you have to get very close to the subject, and you're also doing pseudo-documentary, but also documentary and fine art photography. How often do you compose a shot, and how often do you just find one and have to react quickly to make that happen?
I'm going to give you a little antidote, and that will give you the answer. When I came back after a month of taking the caravan of 2018, I came with 25,000 shots. So basically, but I can't, like the one of Ashley, yeah, well, the sun is hitting you, but not, I can't do that. Like, that's kind of fake. Oh, for the trans, yeah. The trans are fully composed. They choose their outfit, they get all like makeup. It's completely different, you know? The poses, everything. I don't like that picture. Okay, let's change it. So that's completely different.
Do you have a preference?
Yeah, related to the universe.
put yourself in some extremely challenging situations. Is there ever a point where, I mean, you spoke about almost being raped at one point on the train. Is there ever a point where you think, like, this is too much, I can't continue to do this work, like for your own safety?
I'm very aware of my instincts. My dad the best advice my dad gave me, he gave me two really good pieces of advice, which I followed. Go to business school. I did. I went to Drexel. And the other piece of advice was trust your body and your instincts. If I start feeling that chills when I see somebody, I do, or the environment, I have to be attuned to that in order to survive. Now, I can tell you something. I went to Ukraine after the war started, a month after. I will never cover another war, ever. It it hurt me a lot. That's something I will never do again.
So the 3 levels of immigration and fleeing, and like the way you kind of described those different ways of going to a new country, do you think that's just, it's personal to each person which category they are, or would you say most people coming from the South, at least in the Americas, it's more of a dire situation?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've seen it all. But people, the ones that are asylum seekers, say they're asylum seekers because they have to explain the trauma. There's one thing that is in the convention that's called credible fear, right? If the judge thinks that you're full of it, you're not gonna get it, even if you're a good liar. Like, you need to have a bullet wound, you need to be very carefully vetted. There has to be evidence of what you're saying is true, and you can't just invent it. So, or if you try, well, chances are you're gonna get deported, because that one of credible fear is very enforced, especially in Texas. That's why the caravan of 2018 went to California, because the judges are more lenient there. So, in terms of like migrant workers, there's many that have the pride of saying, no, I want to come here as a migrant. That's why I want to work. And if you see that language when it's talking about the people in New York that are coming in the buses, the language is let them work, give them work permits. They are migrants. They don't say asylum seekers. So you have to look at the difference because also a migrant doesn't have a lot of rights as an asylum seeker.
Any more questions? These are all great questions. A couple questions. All right, well, if you don't have any questions, I am just going to thank Ada so much for your time and your talk. Wonderful. Thank you all for being here.